in the acquisition of Iranian oil.
Well, let's see. I mean, we have a very good relationship with Iran right now, as hard as that may be to believe. And I think it's a combination of about 4 weeks of bombings and a very powerful blockade. The blockade might be even more powerful than the bombings, if you want to know.
Yesterday, Trump talked about the effectiveness of the Zua blockade. And just now, CENTCOM posted a video of a destroyer escorting a merchant ship. I'm heading back to an Iranian port. Check this out.
Sky 4, this is Warship 115. We request that you return to your original port in Iran. Do you copy?
Copy received, sir. Thank you very much. Copy, sir. On course to Iran. On course to Iran. Thank you.
4, yes, Warship 115. I understand that you will return to your previous port of call in Iran. This is here. Warship 115 standing by.
Channel 16.
That's amazing hearing this exchange and the response. I'm going to return to Iran now. Yes, that's probably a great idea. With us now is Mark Montgomery, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and retired Rear Admiral of the Sepanera Navy, an experienced Rear Admiral in the region. It's good to have you back, Admiral. Thank you for joining me. This morning's headline is the announcement by Foreign Minister Araghchi that the Strait is open. President Trump just posted on Truth Social. Iran announced that its strait is fully open and ready for passage. Thank you. Your reaction to this, Admiral?
If that's true, it's good news. I would put a caveat on pretty much everything I hear from the Iranian administration, La Guardia Revolucionaria Islamica. If that's true, because they've already lied, stalled, delayed. They've hidden it for 47 years, so we need to be careful here. If it's true, it validates that the blockade was very effective. The embargo withheld $13 to $15 billion a month in Iranian fuel, about $300 billion a year, which Iran critically needs to rebuild the country after 45 days of bombing its industrial base. This blockade had the desired effect, which is to change the policy of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and clearly shows who is in control of the Strait of Hormuz. The United States, when it wishes, controls the flow through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes, Iran decided that blocking the strait was its greatest point of leverage. But it realized through very tough negotiations and reality itself that it was losing hundreds of millions of dollars every day from its most vital resource, its own economy, which of course fuels its defense and reconstruction. I'm not sure how much they care about the terrible economy the Iranian people are facing, but I keep thinking about it. How much pressure do you think China has been putting on its friends in Iran in today's developments?
That's a great question. Historically, China has been an absent actor and has avoided international responsibilities since 1949. However, this has started to hurt their image. This harms them in the long run, not because China needs the fuel. China has solid reserves and plenty of coal available. They have renewables and nuclear energy, but China needs the other economies to be growing. Their economy is export-oriented, so China was under economic pressure from a knock-on effect from other economies. So they must have put pressure on Iran, maybe. Do I think he was an important player? Probably not, but the main factor is what the president said. His bombing campaign, followed by cutting off funding.
So, when we look at what's happening with AI, which is your specialty, and thinking about the future, this was a pretty conventional military situation with bombing campaigns and blockades. What do you think Iran and the Revolutionary Guard will do to survive? What do they shift toward now as a power strategy?
They will have to look at asymmetric threats. They've already tried the traditional approach, getting long and medium-range ballistic missiles, nuclear weapons, or a long-range intercontinental missile. It's a nuclear weapon. We stopped that. So I think now they will look at more cyber tools, biological tools, and tools based on biological processes. So anything they feel they can use to pressure the United States and gain advantages over them. Were their cyber attacks effective? Against a single company in Zua. In the last 45 days, not against sectors like China and Russia. Water and energy affect entire sectors.
Yes, That's why we need to pay attention to these new developments and AI programs, basically hacking programs that are being released in various places now, and we'll see what's next. Admiral Montgomery, thank you. Good to have you here. Let's look at the markets and see where things are heading here. The Dow Jones opened up by 659 points, remaining practically stable since the beginning of the year. But the news from Iran's foreign minister that the Strait of Hormuz is open makes it seem as if the standoff with Iran has been resolved. That's why we're joined by Guy Benson, Fox News political analyst and host of The Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio. And David Yasman, host at Fox Business. Gentlemen, glad to have you both. David, what's your reaction? Based on what we heard at today's market opening?
The Iranian market kind of peaked because everyone says that's why the markets are doing well. The markets went up when gold fell below $90 and kept rising, right? It's not that they had any idea what the Iranians would say, but they were watching everything that was happening. We've talked about this, you know? I took a look right before that, and I think it shows that Trump won. Trump won, and the Arab nations won. The Arab nations, the allied nations during his first term won, seeing Iran as the main enemy. Iran lost, China lost. They were losing money. They didn't want to change suppliers because they would have to pay much more. The EU lost as it didn't contribute anything to help with this issue. I think the Democrats lost by saying there was no chance of this happening. The blockade was a very brilliant move.
Donald Trump, this united the United States with China and the EU, which, by the way, didn't have enough aviation fuel because of the blockade.
So, good move.
In the end, you might be able to prove you were right, but the war isn't over. Just a few caveats. The blockade continues, which means Iran can still be deprived of financial resources of any kind of economic relief. The regime is still in power. We don't know the fate of the nuclear dust or the fate or the future of its nuclear program. We know that the ceasefire in Lebanon between Hezbollah and Israel was crucial for Iran. This has been in effect for 9 days as of today, and counting, 10 days in total. Guy, where do you think we are? Right. Are you on David's team?
I agree with David. The blockade was a huge military success by the Issikors Benoit and a brilliant move by the Trump administration. I also agree that the Iranians have pulled back significantly here.
That being said,
to repeat what one of your previous guests said, I take everything that comes from Iran with a grain of salt. They say a lot of things and lie all the time. So it's trust but verify. And although this seems to be resolved positively and the market loved it, the underlying issues and the administration's demands remain the same and so far have not been met. If the Iranians really want to end this permanently and have any chance for the regime to survive, which I hope doesn't happen, but if they want this to go away and maybe join the normal world, so to speak, they need to completely abandon their nuclear programs. Completely. They need to give up what Trump calls nuclear dust. They must renounce terrorism, period. The demands that the vice president took to Islamabad were specific and do not change with this development. I hope the pressure has squeezed them so much that now they're willing to take it seriously.
That seems to be a reason for cautious optimism, but I'm still waiting to see what happens.
It's great news for the market, the reopening of oil flows and the traffic in the area. Dubai said emphatically, we won, we took the hits. It's the first time we've seen these Gulf states kind of mobilize their own defenses. They were hit, they supported the United States in this blockade, and I think we're seeing a very new alliance or a consolidation of this alliance between the Gulf states, Israel, and the United States.
what you said. Lastly, and most importantly, Saudi Arabia can use ports in Israel to transport its oil. Isn't that extraordinary? Furthermore, the big difference in this oil shock is that in the previous ones, we depended on oil sheikhs. This time, the world depends on what the United States does, and the United States has become the
main energy supplier and driving force for the entire world.
The only people who are still suffering are the Iranians, many of whom are still imprisoned, many of whom are waiting in line to be executed in the streets of Tehran, and they want this regime to end. They want all of this to hurt the regime so deeply that they don't survive, Guy.
That is the hope, that is the goal of the people of Iran. We are praying for them, and it's so important, as you regularly do on your show, Martha, to highlight the barbarity of this regime towards the people of Iran. The world has cried out about Gaza, often dishonestly when it came to civilian casualties. Many of those same people are remarkably silent about the people of Iran, and that's sickening.
Okay, one more note on that. Economically, as we mentioned here, West Texas oil has dropped more than 10%. There are few markets that have fluctuated so much.
David, it could drop below 80 going down to the 70s. It's possible. We'd like that. The break-even point is now $60 a barrel. Thanks, David.